Welcome to your class. Today is a power flow. We're going to start in child's pose, so you can set up for this in hands and knees position. And separate your knees. Take your big toes together and then start to pull your hips back towards your heels. Situate your knees so that your thighs can rest comfortably inside, or your ribs can rest comfortably inside your thighs. And then once you rest your forehead on the floor blanket, you can let your arms relax. And just start to check in here and take a few little breaths, inventorying your energy, your thoughts, sensations. Notice how you feel in your hips, your feet, your shoulders, and your hands. And then just notice your current state of your breath, if it's deep, if it's shallow, if it's fast or slow. And then just by simply noticing, it might slow down, might deepen a little bit, it might become a little bit more efficient and energy packed. We're just going to start slow with this practice. So as you inhale, lift up into table and just ease your way there. Notice the sensations as you move into table, what's going on in your wrists. And just take a moment there. We're going to twist here. Right arm's going to thread through under and behind your left arm. You can keep your left hand on the floor. You can walk it above head. That will help twist open a little bit more. You could take your hand behind your left hand and wrap it around behind your right side. See if you could stretch through with your right arm a little bit more. Stretch through with your right fingertips a little bit more. Roll onto the back of your shoulder, the right one. And then keep pressing down into both knees evenly. And again, notice your breath. And take your hand back to the floor so that you can untwist right into child's pose. So just let yourself kind of melt right back into it. And that's a nice soft exhale. So you can take a big inhale here and fill up your lungs and expand your back. And then we'll move up into the second side. So you can take it up into table again. If you need to move out your ankles or toes, or if you need to take cat-cow or any hip circles, please do that before the next twist. Left arm through and under the right arm so that you can come down to your left shoulder. And again, you can use your right hand wherever it helps. So maybe above head. You could keep your toes tucked under, or you could flip your toes back. Really, anything goes here as long as you feel comfortable in the twist and there's no pain in your back. Opening your right side up. So again, you can hook your right arm behind. And try to stretch your left shoulder through this time. Breathing right into that right side that is opening up. So feeling your breath move from your belly up and really feel the space in the right side that you're opening into. And then take your right hand back to the floor so that you can come back into child's pose once again. Just kind of melt back into it. Hips to heels, forehead to floor. Smooth breath here. Big inhale. Soften your hips, soften your face. And then we'll start to come back up into tabletop pose, back up to hands and knees. Lean forward so that you can get your wrist warmed up and into plank pose. So your shoulders come over your fingertips, and just pause here in plank. You could definitely keep your knees on the floor, but see if you can drop your hips a little bit and pull your chest through your shoulders more so it's more of a plank pose instead of table. And you have the option to keep your legs straight, heels over your toes, shoulders over your fingertips. From plank, then pull your hips up and back and push with your shoulders. It's such a slow movement into downward facing dog that you can feel the shoulder rotation and the hip rotation. And nice smooth breath here. Maybe lift your heels for the first one. Keep your hips lifted. And drop your gaze under. Go ahead and take your right knee up into your right side of your right wrist. So inside your right hand in the middle of your mat. over to the right thumb, and then left hip down to your right heel. So you can move this into one leg king pigeon. Left leg stretches back. You can stay upright here for a moment. We're actually going to take this into a forward fold in a moment, but put a block under your right hip or a blanket if you need while you're upright here. Make sure that there's no pain in your knee, and then as you're ready, you can forward fold down into like a sleeping pigeon variation. So for this first option, I've got my forearms stacked to pillow my forehead, and you can stay there, or you can walk your arms above head and stretch out. I like to take it to my fingertips, or if you just want to let your palms rest on the floor. And just breathe here for a few moments. Let your hips soften, so try not to let your right hip drop down to the right too much. And then walk your hands back in, fingertips on the floor, lift up your chest. It's a little back bend. Take your hands out and then exhale, bow. Inhale, lift back up. So it's very much like cat-cow. Fingertips are wide off the edges of your mat. Exhale, fold. Pull your spine up to the ceiling. And then inhale, open your chest, lift your head up. Lift your shoulders back up over your hips. And exhale, bow. Place your palms back under your shoulders, or back under your elbows rather, so that you can then inhale, lift back up, and step back into downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. And then just take a moment here. Now you can go ahead and lift your right leg up. So the leg that you just had in pigeon shape, lift that right side up and stretch out the right hip. So it's just nice to ground in downward facing dog before flinging that leg back up to the ceiling, just so that nothing catches. And then when you're ready, you can set your right foot back down. Take as long as you need here to circle out your hip and open up that hip. And then come back into plank once you get settled back into downward facing dog. Again, knees can go down on the floor, or knees can be up off the floor, straight leg plank, or knees down plank. I'm just holding, building core heat, core strength. Press back into downward facing dog, so slow you can feel the movement. Couple breaths here, stretch out your shoulders, soften your face. Again, your gaze is under, and then your left knee comes up between your hands. So your gaze just kind of follows your knee, and your left knee is right inside your left thumb. It's not behind your wrist, it's not outside your wrist. And your right leg is straight back. And again, take a moment here before we forward fold to make sure that you don't need any props. If your left knee is feeling painful, or if you've got a big gap between your hip and the floor. The gap is okay between your hip and the floor. It's just if you feel like you're going to fall over, maybe put something down there. And try to get your right hip towards your left heel more. And as you're ready, you can start to fold out down towards the floor. You could take your forearms and pillow your head. And when you do forward fold here, again, try not to let your hips move too much to one side or the other. Keep stretching back through your right foot and lengthen your chest here. So lengthen the spine using your spinal muscles. And you could always forward fold onto a couple blankets or a couple blocks if the floor feels too far away. And then you could add on the straight arm version option if you'd like. Hands can come forward. Arms stretch out in front of you. And then take your hands back up under so that you can push back up. Little lift here with your heart. And then we're going to take those hands out wide. So fingertips to the floor. Exhale, round. Inhale, lift up. Taking this cat-cow movement here. Inhale, open your chest. Exhale, pull your spine back up to the ceiling as you round. And keep pushing down into your fingertips. Inhale, lift and open. And exhale, round, really feeling your core muscles working here. Still feeling the back leg is strong, the left leg is strong on the floor. One more inhale, open. Exhale, fold, hands come back under your elbows. Step right back, downward facing dog. And again, take a moment in downward facing dog just to ground, to situate, to just come out of that back bend, and then lift your left leg up and maybe open your hip and move your foot around, move your ankle around as you need. Get your stretches in, take as long as you'd like here, and then you can lower that left leg down to the floor, back into downward facing dog. And then from downward facing dog here, we're gonna again come into that plank pose. So wave forward, shoulders over your fingertips. Open your chest. You can take your knees down and then lower your hips and belly button down. Point your toes back once you get down to your belly button and lift into a cobra shape that's easy for your back. Exhale as you tuck your toes, press up and back into downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. And walk your feet up to your hands nice and slow for forward fold here. And press down into your heels. Take some of the weight from your feet, if it's all in your heels, and take it into the fronts of your feet, back into the balls of your feet. Then when you inhale, reach up, you're pressing down into your heels. Samastitihi, release your arms down to the side. And then inhale, reach back up, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale as you fold, Uttanasana. And then as you inhale, you can lift up halfway. Go ahead and step back with your left leg. Keep your left hand on the floor, left leg straight, twist with your right arm up to the ceiling. Use a block under your left hand if you need. Open your shoulders. Look up to your right hand if that's possible. And then circle your right arm down and up so it pulls you right up into Warrior Two, and your left hand stretches back into Virabhadrasana B. Right knee is bent deep, right over the ankle. Left foot is pressing back. Inhale, reverse your warrior here. And exhale, place your palms on the floor. And step right back into plank pose. Chaturanga Dandasana. Exhale. Inhale into Cobra or Upward Facing Dog, Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. Exhale, Adho Mukha Svanasana, Downward Facing Dog. Smooth breath in, soft breath out. Go ahead and walk or hop up to the top of your mat. Land in a forward fold. Exhale. Press down into your heels. Inhale, reach up, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, standing pose, Samastitihi. All right. Second side. Inhale, reach your arms. Exhale, fold, Uttanasana. So as you fold, you feel the weight shift from your heels into the fronts of your feet. And then again, take your half lift here so you can step back with your right foot. And take your right hand to the floor, twist open with your left arm. Keep the right leg straight and strong. Keep pushing down into your left heel. Keep your left knee pointing straight forward. See if you can pull your belly away from your left thigh and open your chest up to the ceiling. Left arm circles down and up as you plant your right heel. Lift up and open your arms, Warrior Two, Virabhadrasana B. Pressing your left knee forward and your right foot back. And keep the press of that left knee straight forward as you reverse your warrior here. Inhale. Exhale, hands come to the floor and step back into plank pose or downward facing dog. You can take a moment in down dog, maybe skip the Chaturanga Vinyasa, and if you want now, you can move into the plank pose for Chaturanga. So you can move right into it or take breaking points. You can always skip the Chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Smooth that breath in. Inhale, soften the breath out. Exhale, lift your back, lift your hips. You might start to think about rooting your heels towards the floor without rounding your back. And then we're going to come back up to the top of the mat. So you can walk up or you can hop up. Exhale when you get there into a forward fold. So use the inhale to get there, and then the exhale right into the fold. Inhale, reach up, Urdhva Hastasana. So these postures start to flow. Samastitihi, exhale, standing pose of equal balance. As long as you need here to catch your balance. Chair pose is next. Inhale, bend your knees, reach your arms. Fold from your hips, and then once your fingertips land, straighten your legs. Half lift to shoot back or step back. I'm sorry, don't shoot back because you're coming into warrior one. Inhale, reach your arms. Getting a little habit there, huh? So left leg is back, right leg is forward, warrior one. And then lower it down, place your left palm on the floor, turn over to the outside of your left foot so your right toes can swing back behind your left foot for a modified side plank, or stack your right leg over your left leg for side plank, Vasishtasana. And slowly exhale back into plank for Chaturanga. Inhale, up dog or cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Smooth breath in, soft breath out. Relax your neck and your face. Let your head just drop. And then we'll come back up to the top of the mat. You can step or hop forward. Again, inhale to get there. Maybe finish the inhale with a half lift. And then fold, exhale. Bend your knees, Utkatasana. Squeeze your hips towards your heels. Reach your arms. You can look up to your hands. And then press to stand. Reach, reach, reach. Samastitihi, exhale. All right, so we'll do that again. Second side, bend your knees, Utkatasana. Keep your knees bent as you fold down to the floor. And then once your fingertips land, pull your thighs up and kneecaps up. Step back with your right foot. You can take the half lift first. Warrior one, press equally into both feet as you reach your arms up, both palms up to the, or both sets of fingers up to the ceiling. And then as you exhale, take your hands down to the floor. Again, place your right palm, turn to the outside of your right foot. Left foot can come in front for a kickstand, behind for a kickstand, or it can come on top of your bottom leg for Vasishtasana side plank. You can also take your bottom knee to the floor. Maybe your gaze is up to your top hand, just for balance, up to that left hand. And then you're going to exhale, slowly turn back over into plank pose. Take a breath in plank if you need a moment to stop, and then move through Chaturanga. Again, you can skip the Chaturanga and land in downward facing dog. When you're finished moving through that, inhale, up dog. Exhale, down dog. And again, soften your breath. Soften your shoulders a little bit. Open your low back. All right, and then we'll take this back up top of the mat. So step or hop forward. Exhale, fold Uttanasana. Utkatasana, bend your knees. Inhale, reach your arms. And then press all the way up like you're pushing your hands up to the ceiling with your legs. Release your arms, Samastitihi. All right, so we're going to move into some balancing here. So you can just take a moment here in standing, situate yourself as needed. Fix your hair if you need. All right. The first thing we're going to do is you're going to stand on your left leg, and then you're going to lift your right knee up to the ceiling and just get a nice grip on your balance there. You can start to take your right hand to the front of your right shin, or if you're able to, grab your right big toe and straighten out your right leg. Uddita Hasta Padangusthasana. Left hand on your hip or the left arm out to the side for some kind of a balancing support. And then release your right foot, bend your left knee, cross your right ankle over the top of your left thigh for this number 4 chair. Sitting your hips back, flexing your right ankle, roll your right thigh open. You can lean forward slightly with your chest. Right, and then we're going to come back up to stand. So push your left leg straight again, lift your right knee up again. And this transition is back to high lunge. So bend your left knee as you shoot your right foot back to Ashtha Chandrasana. And take a moment here to get your balance. All of those right toes on the floor behind you. Left foot flat, left knee over your left ankle, bent. And hips level. Lift your chest. You don't have to look up. If looking up wobbles you around, just skip it. Or look up, deal with a wobble, and then maybe look back down and try it a few more times. We're going to twist here so you can shift forward about 45 degrees. And then on your axis, turn, spin on your spine so you can hook your right elbow on the outside of your left thigh. You could also take your right hand to the floor inside of your left foot. If you've got prayer pose, push down into your right hand with your left hand and turn your left ribs open a little bit more. Keep your right leg strong. Inhale, untwist. Sometimes balance can be tricky there. For a moment, high lunge. Bend your knee, lift your back, or lift your chest, back bend. And then take your hands down to the floor. So now you can step back into this three-leg dog. Open your hip here so the right leg doesn't just shoot up, or your left leg doesn't just throw up to the ceiling. You open slowly, and then here, a little bit more of that side plank, rolling it more open into Wild Thing. So the foot behind for a moment in Wild Thing, and then your left leg on top of your right leg, side plank. And squeeze those thighs together in side plank. Drop your right hip down a little. And then when you're ready, turn it back over into plank pose. Squeeze your legs together here, all of your toes on the floor, lower down. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Work it out here. If you want to pedal your feet out, if you want to take child's pose, please feel free to lower your knees down. You can always pause the video and rest. Or if you need more chaturangas, take more chaturangas, that's fine. Smooth breath though, really feeling your belly pump the breath in and out. And then on your next inhale, step or hop yourself up to the top of your mat. Exhale into your fold, Uttanasana. Inhale, lift all the way up, Urdhva Hastasana, stretch up nice and tall. Samastitihi, exhale, standing pose. And take a breath here. All right, from Tadasana, you're going to lift your left leg. So you're balancing on your right foot, left knee lifts, and then you can catch your left hand to your left shin or take your hand onto your left big toe. And then press out with your left foot if you're balancing with your left leg straight. Pull your left shoulder back. Squeeze your outer right hip in. Utthita Hasta Padangusthasana. The knee can be slightly bent here if it's easier to balance that way. And we're going to take this into that number 4 squat here in just a moment. So if you do start to feel your balance just kind of wobble and go away, maybe you just move right into that number 4 squat. So you could bend your right knee and place your left ankle over the top of your right thigh. And then you're opening that left hip. So turning your left thigh open, flex your left ankle once you're in that number 4 squatting position. And now here from the side, you can see my hips are back, chest is forward slightly. It's a bit of a lean into it so that you can create some resistance and some traction on that hip and on the thigh. But you're still using those rotator muscles, your outer left hip muscles. You're using them to open your left thigh to the side, to the left. And then press back down into your right foot so you can balance again, stand. Lift your left knee and then slowly shift it back behind you. Shoot it to the back end of your mat for your high lunge. Get your balance here. Inhale, reach your arms. Ashtha Chandrasana. Front knee is bent right over that right ankle. Left leg is very strong. So left knee is lifted, left toe is pushing your left heel up to the ceiling. And then we're going to twist. So from here, you can take your hands to the heart center, and then you can start to shift your torso forward so that you're twisting on a straight line rather than in a back bend. And then hook your left elbow on the outside of your right thigh, or you could put your left hand on the floor. Press down into your left hand with your right hand to really spin those right ribs open, and try to lengthen, elongate your neck. So pulling your chest through your shoulders here in the twist. Fire up your left leg again. Don't let that guy slack, especially when it's time to come out of it. So as you inhale, the left leg is really strong, so your balance is better. You don't have to look up. You can take a little back bend. And then set up for your Wild Thing into side plank. Left hand on the floor. Your left toes can come behind you, and then you can start to lift your hips up to the ceiling just a little bit more. So it's a little bit more of an opening. And then stack your right leg on top of your left, or keep your right foot on the floor for a kickstand, side plank, Vasisthasana. Again, squeeze those ankles and thighs together. Open your collarbones so they're not collapsing on the front of your body. Turn back over to plank pose, like your body is one strong, solid staff, like a big, nice straight line. Chaturanga, exhale. Inhale, upward facing dog or cobra. And exhale, Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. So again, take some time here if you would like to rest in child's pose or any tabletop stretches or twists. Maybe a 3-leg dog and down dog, but anything that feels really calming and grounding to your body. And I'm going to go into child's pose, hips to heels, forehead to the floor. Just a moment to catch your breath and catch your balance and just stop moving, because we're going to move into a headstand setup. So for starters, you could take elbow dog without your head on the floor. And right here, I've got my head back behind my elbows, and that's fine. It's a great stretch for your shoulders. Then I'm going to take this into strengthening. So I'm going to take my head up to my thumbs and just let the top of my head or forehead rest on my thumbs. This actually really starts to strengthen the shoulder girdle and the muscles and the triceps and your arms. And you could take child's pose and take that over and over, just kind of revisit those two options. Or if you're ready, head to the floor behind your hands and then start to either straight leg, press your feet up to the ceiling, or you could lift one leg and lower that leg down. And then you could lift the other leg and lower it down. And then you could rest in child's pose. If you're moving into headstand from knees bent and your feet are on the floor in that elbow dog, you're going to pull your knees into your chest and then just start to lift your knees up to the ceiling like your belly is pushing your knees up. Please feel free to take this to the wall if the wall gives you some mental support, or if you just need the wall for balance. Wherever you are, though, you're breathing from that belly. And if you're in headstand, really activate your thighs, press your feet up to the ceiling, press down into your elbows. When you're coming out of it, then it's a slow lowering down. You can go straight legs or knees bent. And right away you land in child's pose, just so that you can close your eyes and let your blood pressure settle, let your breath relax, let your shoulders relax. Ujjayi breath is sometimes really good here to bring in, just to calm and soothe, so you can hear the hushing sound in the back of your throat as you're breathing. And then hands to the floor and roll up to tabletop position. And then back into downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. A few moments here just to breathe in, so that we're not rushing from one to the next, so you don't feel dizzy or imbalanced. Step or hop up to the top of your mat as you're ready, and fold. And then press down into the floor. Inhale, reach your arms up, Urdhva Hastasana. Samastitihi, exhale, standing pose. All right, we're going to move into another standing balance posture. So take as long as you need here just to stand and check in Tadasana. When you're ready, you're going to bend your left knee and wrap your right leg around your left leg. And then you're going to take your right arm around your left arm. So the same side leg and arm are the wrappers. Right leg wraps your left leg. Right arm wraps your left arm. Bend your left knee a lot and keep your left knee pointing straight forward as you sit deeper down towards your left heel with your sit bones. Lift your elbows. Press your thumbs away from your face. Eagle Garudasana. Gaze right out past your wrists down towards the floor at a spot that you can stay steady with your gaze. And then you're going to unwrap your arms and unwrap your legs. Press your left leg back to straight. Lift your right knee up. Here again, you're going to reach down for your right foot or knee. And then once you get the piece of your body that you want, you're going to turn your leg out to the side. Ooh, ooh. Balance for me today was kind of rough. So this is really important. This is a good example of why slow movement is so important for your balance. I did fix it. My problem was my left hip was flopping out, so I needed to squeeze in with my left hip. So really make sure you're squeezing in with your left thigh and hip, and then rotate on your right thigh, not your left hip. So I was rotating on my left hip, and that was throwing me over. And then slowly come back to center. And slowly step back. I went a little fast, whatever it happens. Warrior one. So turn your right heel down once you get your right foot to the back of your mat and bend your left knee. And then open warrior two. So just about a breath or two in warrior one, a smooth breath or two in warrior two. And then inhale, reverse your warrior. And then we're going to move into side angle and hold that for a moment. So now slow transition down into left hand on the outside of your left foot, either left fingertips on the floor or block, or you can flatten out your left hand on the floor if you'd like, but keep that right leg strong and active and keep pressing your left knee into your left arm. If your left palm is flat, make sure that your left shoulder isn't coming up. It's pulling back. Good, and then release that, both hands on the floor. Lift your left leg, stretch it out a little bit if you need to, but we're going to come right over into this wild thing here. So now it's a little bit more of an opening in wild thing. So I'm just adding on as I progress through this posture. So I'm not cranking into my shoulder. And then a second or two in side plank, maybe 3 or 4. Depends on how much energy you've got, right? So it's never about how long you're there. It's just feeling the shape and feeling the movements. Left leg is actually going to shoot back up to the top of your mat. So shoot that left leg back up. There was a good song playing. Whatever. And then reach your arms up. Dance a little bit if you need to. High lunge. Now here, warrior three. You had to know it was coming. Virabhadrasana 3. Get your balance. Use a wall or a chair. Stretch back with your right foot, back with your right leg. Stretch forward with your arms if it's okay. Again, a chair seat is really nice to have here, or the chair back. And then as soon as you feel the wobbles, you're just like, that's good, I'm fine, I'm happy with it. And then let it go. Come down to a standing split. If you want to take a handstand practice, you're welcome to take that here. You're also welcome to pause the video and play with handstands. Okay, so I'm just going to hop up into it and find a little air time. This version is so much easier if you have your top leg straight and the leg that was on the floor bends into your chest. You can actually balance a little easier. And then take chaturanga or skip it, lower down. Inhale into an easy back bend. Exhale into Virasana. So sit back between your heels or on top of your heels for Vajrasana just for a moment. Hands on your thighs. Close your eyes down. Just ground. And there's a lot of stuff, a lot of balancing. So it's really nice to ground in between sides and check in. Check in with your breath. Check in with your energy levels. And then when you're ready, you can pause the video if you need longer. Come back to downward facing dog. All right, we're going to take us back up to the top of the mat so you can step or hop forward and exhale into your fold. Inhale, Urdhva Hastasana, reach up nice and tall, press your feet down, hands up. Samastitihi, exhale. Second side eagle. So for this side eagle, you're going to wrap your left leg over your right leg and your left arm under your right arm. Again, the same side as the wrapper. So left leg wraps and your left knee is not pointing straight forward. Your right knee is. And then your left arm wraps. Lift your elbows, lift your forearms, and press your forearms away from your face. Bend your right knee a little bit more so you can sit down towards the back of your right heel. You do not have to hook your right toes, or your left toes rather, behind your right thigh or calf. You can just squeeze the outer ankle into the outer right shin. So your outer left ankle, outer right shin. And then again, that gaze is really important. So keep it steady as you unwrap. Lift your left knee up, find your balance. Here again, you're going to hook either big toe with your left hand or hand to the front of your left shin. Use your right arm for balance. It doesn't have to be on your hip. It can be. And then when you turn your left foot out, try to turn from the left hip, not the right hip. So this side went a little better for me because then I realized what I was doing on the first side. And here, you don't feel like you've got to get your left leg all the way out to the side. That's also where I was starting to wobble because I wanted to get my left leg way out to the side. And I can't really do that without turning my right hip is with it. So your right hip is staying planted, your left hip is opening. And then maybe your gaze over your right shoulder. And slowly take it back into center. The balance is tricky. Step back into your warrior one. As you bend your right knee, your left foot lands down at the back of your mat. Small victories there. I did it. Warrior one. Inhale, lift your arms, lift your chest. And again, it's just about a breath or two in these postures, flowing through warrior one into warrior two. Open your arms. Big inhale and soft exhale. And then inhale, reverse warrior. And again, this little flow is going to set you up for side angle. So your right arm to the outside of your right foot, either on the block or floor. And then that's where, so this left or right thigh, it's rolling through. So it's rolling behind. So pull the underside of your thigh through and up towards your belly. And then open up behind you. Press back through that left foot. Left leg is so strong. Again, relax your right shoulder blade down into the rib section of your back. Belly breath here, left hand down. Right here's where we're going to then turn this over into this wild thing. So if you need a moment in down dog and three-leg dog first and then wild thing, please transition into the posture so it feels good for you. So it's slow and again, not jamming into your joints. All right, and then from wild thing into side plank. Oh, a little wobbly there. Love the wobbles though. Really appreciate those wobbles. It just means that's your muscle. That's your muscles learning things and getting stronger. And then from side plank again, your right leg is going to lift and shoot back up to the top of your mat. You can use your right hand to help it up. High lunge, Ashtha Chandrasana. Take a moment here to get your balance. If your right leg is on fire, maybe straighten it out and stretch it out a little bit. And then as you're ready, shift onto your right leg. Left leg lifts. Warrior three, Virabhadrasana C. Press your left foot behind you. Lift your belly button up without flattening your back. So there is a back bend here. Arms are forward, gaze is forward. So the back of your head is, mine's a little high. I'd probably like my head to be a little lower, but again, I was taking what I could. There's my balance was a jerk today. All right, hands to the floor, let it go, right? Let it go. And then again, you can take the standing split, handstand hops, chaturanga to down dog. So let this flow be fun for you and have some fun with it if you need to pause the video and get in any extra movements, stretches. And as you're moving, it's exhale, chaturanga, inhale, cobra. Exhale back to that hero pose again, Virasana. Sit right between those heels, straighten out your toes, get them to be not on top of each other. And then just take a moment here, close your eyes down. Feel your balance, feel your center, sit bones, tailbone, and head. Shoulders are in the middle, stacked between the two. All right, and then back up to downward facing dog after you took that grounding moment. We're going to come to seated for a forward fold. So you can take as long as you'd like in downward facing dog. And you could take another chaturanga if you'd like here. You can jump through to seated, or you can come to kneeling and cross your ankles and rock back over your feet. So we're going to set up for a half bound lotus forward fold, Ardha Baddha Pada Paschimottanasana, Ardha Baddha Padma Paschimottanasana. Repeat after me. No, I'm just kidding. All right, so you can start with your right ankle over your left thigh in the number 4 shape, or then you can start to draw your right heel up into your left hip crease. So for this one, I'm actually skipping the Baddha, the bound. I'm just taking a block on my shin so my forehead can rest comfortably on my shin. I just really wanted this to be more of a comforting pose and a stretchy pose and not such a aggressive get her done pose, right? But even though it's somewhat relaxing, your left leg is strong, your left foot is pushing out. Let your right foot relax on your hip so you're not digging down into your left thigh with your right ankle bone. And again, your ankle could be crossed over your thigh. You don't have to have half lotus here, right? Remember that. And then come up out of that so we can set up for a Marichyasana posture, Marichyasana A. So I'm moving right into this with lotus. Left heel comes up, and my foot is tucked up in my left hip crease still. My right knee is forward. The right knee needs to come down to the floor if you're going to take this bind and fold. I cannot. My ankle really, really hurt there. So I'm going to take my foot out and put my foot under my left leg. So pause this if you're not quite sure what I'm saying. Rewind it. See the two options, decide which one is better for you, and then you can wrap up your left leg with your arms. You do not have to bind here. You could have your hands simply out on the floor, but I do want you to think about squeezing your left knee back with your left armpit. So if your arms are out on the floor, you're pushing into your left knee with your left armpit and squeezing forward, so squeezing the hip. And try to breathe the same smooth, easy breath here. Now inhale, come up, and then we're going to switch this into a twist. So that left foot's just going to move over the outside of your right thigh. If you're in half lotus, you're going to have to take your left foot down at this point. Hook or hug with your right arm, and then twist towards your left. Ardha Matsyendrasana, half Lord of the Fishes. Left fingertips behind you. Your shoulder blades are smooth on your back. Your two shoulders from shoulder to shoulder create a nice, smooth, open, straightish line. Of course, nothing's really flat or straight in your body, but really stretch your shoulders apart so that they're not rounding or collapsing and one's not lower or higher than the other. And then we're going to move this into an arm balance. So you can stay in that twist for an extra breath or two. You can move through chaturanga and skip the arm balance. I'm going to scooch back and turn to my right so that I can face the top of my mat. My left leg is on the back of my right arm, and then I split my legs. And then I'm going to shoot off into chaturanga. So if you need to go back and watch that again, if you practice this Ekapada Kundinyasana, you can rewind and give that a go again, or skip it, right? When you're finished moving through your chaturanga, downward facing dog, just for a moment, you could also revisit Virasana, Vajrasana, or child's pose, the hero pose or the child's pose. And we'll come back to seated, so you can jump through again, or you can kneel down and just kind of rock back over your ankles. I got a thigh cramp from doing that dumb jump through. All right, so now we're going to do the second side. So your left leg is going to come up over the top of your right. So start with a number 4 shape if that's better for your body, and simply forward fold here. Get your block out on your right shin. Or if you'd like to add in the half lotus, you can scoop from underneath and pull your ankle up into your right hip crease. Again, make sure that you're not pushing down into your right thigh with your left ankle bone. Get a block or a stack of pillows or blankets that you can rest your forehead. Press both sit bones straight back. And even though this is a relaxing posture, still my chest is it's not pushing forward, but there's a slight gentle little push through of my chest. So it's more of a pull down of my back muscles so that I can stretch my chest out. So it's not just a complete collapse, but there's work to find that balance between the effort and the ease, the relaxation and the stretch versus, overstretching and dumping. So balance that out and use your breath. Check in with your breath. How's it flowing? All right, and then we're going to come up to situate from that Marichyasana, the pose dedicated to the sage Maricya. This is Marichyasana A. So on this side, I can keep my foot in lotus just because I don't have that ankle injury. So as you can see, my left thigh is down on the floor. This looks like a really bad idea. I mean, it feels great. So if this is not a good idea for your body, again, take that left foot out and put it underneath and behind your right heel. Then your right arm's inside and around. And if you cannot bind, that's fine. Keep your arm inside your leg and just stretch your arms out away from each other to the floor so that you can squeeze your right knee back. And if you can bind, your right hand is grabbing your left wrist and you're pulling your knee back with your bind and pulling your chest forward. The right sit bone will be off the floor here in case you're wondering. That's a common question I get. So yes, your right sit bone is up off the floor. All right, and then come back up to seated. So now we can squiggle this into that twist. So your right foot walks over to the other side of your left thigh. Right toes point straight forward. And now both sit bones are on the floor. Hook or hug with your left arm, and then again stretch your right arm back behind you so that if your hand is too far in, right hand is too far in towards your right hip, it's going to push your right shoulder up to the ceiling. So try to get those shoulders to be level and even and open. And then again, breathe here through this twist so you can feel the spiraling in your body affecting your twist. Breathe from your belly up. And pull your breath from your belly down. All right, and then again, you can think about staying here for the next few moments, or you could move this into the arm balance. You can also move this into a forward fold, or just come onto your back and hug your knees into your chest. We are going to come back up into seated position, so don't get too cozy if you're on your back. But so I'm going to turn to my left now to set up for this Ekapada Kundanyasana A version. Hands to the floor. Right knee is up in the back of my left arm. You can keep your legs crossed like they would be an eagle, and then you can start to stretch your legs apart like a split, like a side split. Then shoot back chaturanga or step back chaturanga. Up dog, cobra, maybe skip the chaturanga. And then take a moment in child's pose just to let all that stuff, let that all go. Just breathe. Move your wrists around if your move your wrists around if they were getting tired. And then take as long as you need here in this restful child's pose, just recentering, checking with your breath. We're going to move this into a split practice. So as you're ready, you're going to come up and take your right foot through for a half split. So starting in a kneeling position, and maybe you can start to sit back on your left heel. I had my left foot flat to start and it felt awful. So tuck your left toes under if you're going to take this version, and then sit on your heel. That way you can stretch forward. And this is a second option. Maybe the third option would be to move into a full split. So you could come up into a runner's lunge and then scoot your left leg back and your right leg forward. Use blocks or bolsters or blankets, whatever you've got at home, to pad up your hips. You can fold out over your right leg. And just take a few moments here to really check in. So notice if this starts to get really painful or like you get any burning sensations, it's time to come out of it. Any sharp pain sensations, it's not worth it. So this is why breath is so important. Really follow that breath. Listen to it. Listen to what it's telling you. Make sure it's still steady and smooth and slow paced. And you can inhale, lift up just for a moment. Take a bit of a back bend wherever you are. So if you're in a full split, lift your chest. If you're in a half split, half lift. Yeah. And then we'll move into a low lunge here. Bend your right knee. We'll come out of your full split first, obviously. Bend your right knee and then inhale, lift your chest up. Open your heart. And take your hands down to the floor. Step back into table. Wiggle it around. You can wave your hips around, little cat-cow. We're going to come down to the belly for a back bend. So you can start with cobra. You can stay with cobra, right? Or if you're down for it, you can lift your feet and catch your ankles with your hands and press your feet up to the ceiling. As you press your feet up to the ceiling, another action needs to happen here. Your shins need to press back. So push your heels back away from your head and lift your gaze up. Exhale, relax down. And then take it up through table. Just a moment in tabletop, no movement. All right, left foot through now. And get that split on the second side. And so start with a half split, right knee on the floor, or tuck your right toes under and sit back towards your right heel. So you can stretch out over your left leg. It's the kind of the point to this is try to get a nice forward fold into the splits. Even if you move into full splits and you know it's easy for you, maybe just stay here for a moment and then work your way slowly into a full split, back into a runner's lunge, and scoot your right leg back, left leg forward. So you're never just dropping and plopping into a split, setting yourself up for it slowly, intelligently, and then you can fold. If you need your right hip to open, open your right hip. This doesn't need to be squared off, okay? There's nothing square about your body. I just can't stand that. Don't ever try to square anything off. It's stupid. You could even use a block here. You know, if you're not using a block under your legs, maybe put a block on your shin for your forehead to rest. And again, really check in with your breath. So notice if the breath is telling you that this is a stressful situation. If this is a stressful posture to be in, you need to modify it. It shouldn't be stressful. It should be enjoyable, calming. And then we'll start to come up into that half lift. So if you're in a full split, lift up, fingertips to the floor. If you're in a half split, put your hands on the floor, lift out halfway. Good. And then start to come up into your low lunge. Bend your left knee, stretch your right leg back, and inhale, reach your arms up. Nice little back bend. Exhale, take your hands down to the floor. Come back into your tabletop pose here. Roll down to your thighs, hips, belly. And then again, you can stay in cobra or upward facing dog, or you can add onto another bow side, or after the first side, after the second side. Just, it's a nice shape to get out of that forward fold. Okay, so if locust is better for you, do locust. Hands behind the back and feet straight out behind you. Another big breath here, lift, and then slowly lower down. After this one, now take a rest on your belly. Since we don't have any more forward folding really to do, I've got one more stretch for you, but just for a moment here, rest forehead on forearms. You can let your legs come out as wide as you'd like. You might even want to bend your knees and windshield wiper your feet side to side. All right, so we're going to set up for a Mandukasana, a little downward facing frog pose. So you're going to take your knees as far apart as you can, in line with your hips. Your feet point out. So try not to let your hips move back or forward too much. Take your elbows on the floor underneath your shoulders. Zip your belly in slightly so there's not a massive back bend here. Relax your feet. If your feet are pulling in too much, they don't need to be flexed that much. Mine were. It took me a moment to realize it, and I let them relax. You also might feel like you might need to take your elbows back in toward your legs a little closer into your body. Yeah. So my hips were coming too far forward. So you don't want your hips back to your heels, and you don't want your hips in front of your, like beyond your knees. As you're here, you might be able to scoot your knees apart, but please don't push it. Again, it's not really how far can you go. It's just feel this intense sensation. This one's a tough one to be in for a while. So we're going to be here for another few breaths. Collect your breath from your belly and focus on that. Really focus on the breath, moving the inhale, pulling the breath in, even as it's pushing energy up. And the exhale is pushing breath out, even as it's pulling energy in and down. All right, so the trick to get out of this now is not die. So get out of it as you can. I like to take hands to floor first, and then feet together, and then knees together. Whew, that's intense. And then again, just take a moment squatting on your toes, sitting on your heels, just kind of like that Virasana or Vajrasana we did earlier, the hero or thunderbolt. Take as long as you need here. Maybe sigh out of your mouth. It's nice to just sigh. And then you can come onto your back as you're ready. So this is the part of the practice that I really like you to take into your own hands. I'm going to move into Apanasa, knees to chest. If you prefer a supine bound angle or a shoulder stand, a twist. I do a twist here in a moment, but I also prefer to stop for a moment in constructive rest just to really check in and see if I actually need a twist. And then in constructive rest pose, I'm just going to let my knees drop over to the side and then just see where the twist goes on its own. And the moment it feels awful, I stop. I stop pushing. So I've now got my left leg out to the right, and it's straight, and my right hand is down to the left foot. Happy baby maybe is, haha, that rhymed. Happy baby maybe. Maybe that's what you're doing. or just move right into Shavasana. Sometimes you just don't need anything. Sometimes it's just good to be there. If you are taking your twists on, make sure you're getting them on both sides. So I just did my right. I'm going to move over to my left. And then again, my right leg is going to come up and I'm going to catch that foot with hand. And just a few moments here to breathe into the back, breathe into the chest, breathe into the front of the body, breathe into the twist all around. And take about as close to equal as you can on both sides within, maybe counting your breath. Maybe that's a good gauge. 4 or 5 breaths on each side. And then you can come back into that constructive rest pose if you're twisting. Take a moment there just to see where you really need to be. So maybe you want to end your practice in a seated meditation or a reclining Shavasana shape. Close your eyes down and really go into your body, not the shape, just go into your body and let the shapes happen as your body needs. Take rest. If you've got extra time, just let this video run out and rest there. If you need any support, bolsters, pillows, set yourself up for a comfortable relaxation. And as always, when you do end your practice, take a moment to bow to you and tell yourself thank you. All right, thanks, yogis. Have a wonderful day.